If you've seen our last couple of videos, you've seen kicks being performed like this. But there is one surefire way to make sure that you can perform those kicks well without injuring yourself, is being able to have good mobility and good range of motion in your joints. So this is where we're going to be doing some mobility stretches that are going to help you perform some awesome kicks. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now it is scorching hot in here, hence why you can see that I'm not in a gi today. I've broken my rules and worn my shirt and my shorts. So if you haven't seen our kicking video, be sure to check them out, as well as all our other videos that we posted earlier in the year. So before we go any further, mobility and stretching are two completely different things. Mobility is focusing on your joints, being able to use a full range of motion, as well as improving your flexibility, but it also concentrates on a bit of coordination and core strength. Stretchers focus primarily on flexibility and lengthening your muscles. Both are absolutely fantastic to use, but mobility is the thing we're going to be working on today. It's not going to be about being able to kick from here to here. It's being able to make sure that your hips and other joints, such as your back, your shoulders, all over your body really, are able to take on performing kicks properly. So to keep this nice and simple to start with, we're going to use the front lunge to ensure that you can stretch your hips as well as moving your whole body when you do this. We're going to start with a really simple exercise and then we'll start making things a little bit more complicated if you would like to progress further. So when you're doing the lunge, for now, the idea is to try and make both legs look at a right angle, and then when you try and stretch, you make sure that your knee goes over your front toes. And it's making sure that you keep your body engaged the whole time. You're not leaning over, and you're making sure that you keep your foot nice and flat. To really enable plenty of mobility in the upper body, you can keep it nice and simple by having your opposite arm out straight, and the idea is to try and draw a nice big circle. So when you're going round, it's almost like you've got a wall next to you, and you're fully twisting your body, so you have a full range of motion in your shoulder, as well as your back. You make sure that your arms are going outwards, and you can turn your body. Don't feel like you have to restrict your body. You make sure you turn your body, and you keep your knee out, and then you keep going round, like you're brushing your hand against the wall next to you, this way. And you can do this several times, and making sure that you still keep your core engaged. There is an alternative to this stretch, and it would mean rotating and twisting the other way, and you're also in a slightly different position. If you find this exercise is quite difficult and you feel like you need some support, the alternative would be to put your hand on the floor whilst maintaining your hip flexor stretch, putting your opposite hand on the floor with your arm behind your arm, and then making sure that you twist and you point up nice and high to the ceiling, and then you return. And everything is nice and controlled, and you might feel that in this position that you feel a nice stretch in your lower back, as well as between your shoulder blades. If you hold that stretch, you can really make sure that what is working, so you've got a nice easy stretch, but you still got that support of your base hand whilst making sure you have that nice simple movement. This way helping with your back as well as keeping your hips nice and strong. Now the next one is a very good one for your hip, especially that abduction action from your hips and your leg. Now, like we did last time, there will be a slightly more difficult one that you can do if you find this one a little bit easier. Now, when you do this one, it's called a fire hydrant, and yes, it does look like something else, which might look a bit awkward, but I can guarantee you, it's a very good stretch to do. So, from here, making sure you're on your hands and knees, and the idea is you're keeping your tension in your hamstring, and you're raising your knee directly up to the side, and keeping your foot in as well as you do that. Yes, we all know what it looks like. But it's making sure that you don't just swing your leg up, you're having a nice controlled action with your leg, getting your knee up as high as you can so that your leg is almost horizontal before then returning back to the center. It's making sure that you have a slight hold to make sure that your hips are really working, before you then return back to normal. Now, if you want to make this slightly harder, you can add a leg extension into this and almost looks like you're doing a side kick mixed with a back kick. Again, it's all about making sure you control your legs. So first of all, control the hip movement, hold it for a few seconds, before then extending your leg out straight and turning your hip. So it almost looks like you were about to do a side kick, but then returned it into a back kick. And then you return your knee back to where it was, before then bringing your knee back down. So when you do it on the other side, it's all about that control. Holding that position, you think, go to extend your leg, and then before you have completed it, you rotate fully, so there's that nice squeeze in your glute muscles, or your back muscles, before then returning back to normal, and then back down. This way you can do this on both legs, and you alternate, maybe 10 on each leg. So as we said before, these mobility exercises are very good for your core strength, your coordination, as well as improving your overall flexibility. Now, this exercise is actually going to have an easy version, and then we will develop it into a slightly harder version for those who would like to progress this. The majority of you probably have seen this before. This is actually a modified version of the side lunge. Now, this mobility exercise can get progressively harder. So to start with, it's about keeping control of your body, and you have a nice, slow, controlled movement, and you simply change over so you're going the other way. Okay, if you need to use your hands, you can, but the whole idea is making sure that every movement is nice and controlled when you change. This way you're actually working on that coordination, and you're also working your core, as well as really making sure that your hips are working and moving your body. If you want to make it harder, the more upright you are, the harder it is. Rather than trying to put your hand on the floor, you keep it nice and controlled, and at the same time, when you land the lunge, it's making sure that you feel a nice stretch in your hamstring before then changing over, holding that position, stretch that hamstring, and change over. Keeping this nice and simple, and do maybe 10 reps. Now, the slightly harder way involves more twisting, and this way, more twisting involves more mobility work. So, like we said before about the side lunge, this time it's about keeping control of your body, and you're twisting all the way around to a front lunge. And you're keeping your weight down nice and low before you then change back round again. Again, if you need to use the floor, it's making sure you use the floor for stability, but then once you're in that position, make sure you hold that position so you really ensure that all the muscles are working and are all in the right place before twisting back round again. Use the floor if you need to, but it's making sure that your core is really working to make sure you get that nice stability in the joint as well as your back before then returning back to normal. Again, as always, make sure you try on the other side. Just make sure that you turn your foot first before you rotate to make sure that your foot is in the right position, and it's similar to what we did before with the front lunge. Make sure this bit is really stretched by keeping your hips in rather than leaning over your leg, then control the turn back round. So again, this one you can twist 10 times and make sure you're using both legs. So be sure to try out these exercises, and you will find that over time, with consistent stretching and mobility work, you'll find that your kicks will become so much more effortless, and you'll be able to deliver some absolutely brilliant kicks. If you did like this video, please click the subscribe button, and that way you'll be able to keep up to date with everything to do with Norwich Karate Academy. Until next time, see you soon.